I'm Taylor. Sitting in the hushed, stuffy atmosphere of the Chicago probate court, I watched as my brother, Ethan, painted a picture of me as a ticking time bomb to the judge. With the same smooth, calculated manner he used in his high-end real estate deals, he described me as unstable and a danger to myself. Behind him, my parents, Margaret and Richard, dabbed at their eyes with lace handkerchiefs, looking every bit the heartbroken upper-class couple. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't protest. Instead, I felt the small, cold recording device in my pocket and recalled the text Ethan sent me earlier. "We're doing this for your own good." In that moment, I knew love was just their excuse. Before I reveal how Ethan's scheme fell apart in the next 10 minutes, let me take you back to how this all started. Our family was part of Chicago's old money society. My father, Richard, was a powerful banker, and my mother, Margaret, was a well-known socialite. Ethan was their golden boy, the apple of their eye. At 30, he was already a rising star in the real estate world, charming clients and making big deals left and right. I, on the other hand, was the quiet artist of the family, living in a converted studio in the family's large estate on the outskirts of the city. Everything changed when our grandfather, a shrewd old man who had amassed a fortune in the shipping business, passed away. We gathered in the opulent library of the estate for the reading of his will. The room smelled of aged leather books and generations of family secrets. To everyone's shock, except mine, he left the entire estate, worth millions, and his private art collection solely to me. Ethan got nothing, and neither did my parents. My mother, Margaret, was the first to react. Her false smile dropped, and she fixed me with a steely gaze. "Ethan is in some trouble, dear. He made some bad investments, and we need to sell the estate to save him. It's about saving the family name," she said, her voice cold and calculating. I looked at them sitting on the plush sofas, and for the first time, I saw the invisible chains that had bound me. I was always the scapegoat. When Ethan messed up at school, it was my fault for distracting him. When he crashed his sports car, it was because I'd upset him. But this time, I refused to play along. I told them no. I said I was turning the main house into a retreat for artists struggling with mental health issues, a place where they could find peace and create. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face turned a deep shade of red, and Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "You'd rather help strangers than your own family?" He sneered. I looked him in the eye and replied, "Yes, because they deserve a chance. You deserve to face the consequences of your actions." That was when the war began. A few days later, I walked into my studio. Usually, it was filled with the comforting smell of oil paints and wood. But that day, it reeked of something metallic like blood. I saw my easel knocked over, and then I noticed my canvas. It was a portrait of my grandfather that I'd been working on for months. It was slashed to pieces, and red paint was splattered everywhere, creating a gruesome scene. From the shadows, Ethan emerged, dressed in his sharp business suit. "Look what you've done, Taylor. You're out of control," he said, feigning concern. "I had to call the police for your own good." The sirens outside grew louder, and soon, 2 police officers entered. They looked at the destroyed studio and then at me, trembling with shock and anger. Ethan painted a picture of me as a crazy artist having a breakdown. I wanted to scream and tell them the truth, but I knew that's what he wanted. If I lost my temper, I'd play right into his hands. So I stayed silent. I let them take me away without a fight. The next 72 hours in the psychiatric ward were hell. They took away my phone and my personal belongings. Doctors came in, asking me about things I'd never experienced. But I remained calm, knowing that every hour of my silence was a crack in Ethan's story. My friend, Lily, got me out. She showed up with my clean medical records and threatened to sue the hospital if they didn't release me. When I walked out into the sunlight, I expected more trouble. Instead, I found my parents on my doorstep. They were dressed simply, and my mother had tear-streaked eyes. They pleaded with me to come to a reconciliation dinner. They said they were going to cut Ethan off from the family trust and that they wanted to start over. I knew it was a trap, but I agreed to go. I went to my studio and picked up a small brooch I'd modified with a hidden camera and microphone. At the dinner, the dining room was set with the finest silverware and china. Ethan was there, looking smug. My parents played the perfect hosts. When my father poured the wine, I smelled the sweet, nutty scent of a sedative. I pretended to drink, spitting the wine into my napkin. As I pretended to be drugged, they started whispering about their plan. They wanted to force me to sign power of attorney and declare me mentally unfit. All the while, the camera on my brooch recorded everything. The next day in court, Ethan testified smoothly, painting me as unstable. My parents supported him with fake grief. Just as the judge was about to grant the conservatorship, my lawyer presented the video. Their voices filled the courtroom, revealing their plot. Ethan panicked, shouting fake, but then the second video of him destroying my painting appeared. By damaging the art, he triggered a clause in the will that forfeited his right to any inheritance. The judge ordered all three of them arrested. 6 months later, the estate reopened as the artist retreat I'd envisioned. I kept the ruined portrait as a reminder of my survival. For the first time, I walked forward without carrying the weight of their lies.